الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We started speaking about the cleanliness as far as our clothes is concerned, the place, the ground, in other words, and as far as the body is concerned. And then we came to the hukum of the place where you make salah or the place for an ibadah. And we said there is a very interesting hadith that deals with the place of ibadah. And the hadith, an Anas ibn Malik رضي الله تعالى عنه قال بينما نحن في المسجد مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذ جاء أعرابي فقام يبول في المسجد فقال أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مه. The hadith starts off with a Bedouin. So how do we know a Bedouin? A Bedouin means it's somebody that has come from the desert. It's a, what do you call Bedouin in English? Yalla, everybody. I mean a Bedouin in I said in English, Bedouin is English. No wonder people are looking, oh. But nevertheless, so in other words, it's a person that hasn't been living in a city, not very much familiar with whatever his surroundings is and so on. So this person comes into the masjid and then suddenly goes to one side of the masjid and he urinates, he pees in the masjid. Now I can imagine that all of you and Mr. Ahmad will all get excited. Somebody comes in here and goes to the side of the masjid and he pees. And the Sahaba obviously all go, stop, and they're all getting all excited and angry. And what is this you're doing here? So like disrespecting the masjid. فقال رسول الله قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزرموه دعوه فتركوه حتى بال ثم إن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم دعاه فقال له إن هذه المساجد لا تصلح لشيء من هذا البول ولا القدر إنما هي لذكر الله عز وجل والصلاة وقراءة القرآن أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال فأمر رجلا من القوم فجاء بدلو من ماء فشنه عليه. So when everybody got all excited and so on, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then tells everybody, stop, don't interrupt him, leave him alone. So they left him alone until he's finished urinating, and then the Nabi alayhi salam called him over and said to him, you know, masajid, this is not places for urinating or to make a number two and so on, to popos. This is not places for that. The masajid is a place for dhikrullah, for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a place for salah. It is a place for recitation of the Holy Quran. And then the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam ordered, and here's where the fiqh part comes in. And then the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam ordered, bring a bucket of water and throw it over there. Right? Another hadith on the same A'rabi, the same Bedouin. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال دخل أعرابي المسجد والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم جالس فصلى فلما فرغ قال اللهم ارحمني ومحمدا ولا ترحم معنا أحدا فالتفت إليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال لقد تحجرت واسعا فلم يلبث أن بال في المسجد فأسرع إليه الناس فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أهريقوا عليه سجلا من ماء أو دلوا من ماء ثم قال إنما بعثت ميسرين ولم تبعثوا معسرين. In this hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says this Bedouin came into the masjid and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting down, and then he went to go make salah. And when he finished with salah, he made dua. Allah marhamni, or Allah have mercy on me and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said in Muhammad, وَلَا تَرْحَمْ مَعَنَا أَحَدًا. Don't show mercy to anybody else. So he's only making dua for him and for the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then said to him, you know, why you want to be so restrictive? Right? Because the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unrestricted. Right? Why you want to be? So when the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam finished talking to him, he then gets up and goes to the side of the masjid, and that is where he urinates, and everybody gets excited, and the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, take a bucket of water and throw it on there. Innama bu'ithtum muyassirin. You have been sent to make things easy and don't make things difficult. So that gets you thinking, doesn't it? Because when one looks at the hadith, and the ulama says there's a lot of benefits to get here from the actions and the words of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam when you deal with a jahil, meaning when you deal with a person that don't know, is ignorant as to how things must be said or how things must be done or whatever the case may be. They didn't, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam didn't deal with him in a harsh manner and got the Sahaba to beat him out of the masjid or whatever the case may be. Or maybe, you know, in our time, there's someone, clear person, kafir. Kafir doesn't respect for the masjid and whatever the case may be. So here is things to learn. First of that is that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam shows complete kindness to a person that don't know. A person that is ignorant of what is the circumstance there. Secondly, no haste in trying to deal with the issue. No, as the Nabi said, leave him. Because they were all getting excited. Why is all of that? Because it shows your easiness with the person that committed a wrong, that did something wrong. And you are not difficult or making life difficult for him. So therefore, when we deal with a person that doesn't know, then bil hikmah, then with wisdom and with ease, we explain to people, and that is taysir. That is making it easy. But when you are harsh, then you won't get the same kind of reaction. Secondly, and that is that where somebody has then urinated on the ground, that it is sufficient for us to take a bucket of water and throw it on that ground. Because remember, at the time of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, there wasn't concrete floors, there wasn't mats, it was ground, sand. So therefore, to throw it on there, as long as there is no a patch that is laying there, or if it's now going to be popos, then obviously that has to be picked up and things like that, right? And on top of that, the amount of water exceeded the amount of urine. Nobody can urinate a whole bucket of full. So the amount of water, the amount of cleanliness, the amount of water that was thrown in there exceeded the amount of impurity that was there. So in this case, there was no need to dig up the ground and throw it somewhere, or to go and get sand and throw it on there. The Nabi didn't order that. The Nabi ﷺ said, bring a bucket of water and throw it over there, so that that would clean it. Number 3, that we don't ruin or cause a greater harm by the way that we act. By the way that we act with people that either don't know or they are new to Islam. If we are easy with them, remember the Nabi ﷺ said, leave him. What could have happened? He could have been moving everywhere while he is urinating, go on his clothes, go on his body, urinating everywhere. They won't even know where he's urinated everywhere. So the Nabi ﷺ then says, so therefore, if you are going to be harsh on people that is either new to Islam or they've been negligent and they don't know, then you could possibly be the cause for them saying, nah, this deen is not for me. These people are too harsh. So right, that deals with the story of cleaning the place. Another hadith that deals with that, at least coming now, that deals with cleaning the place. Now we come to the body. The Nabi ﷺ says in the hadith, طهروا هذه الأجساد طهركم الله فإنه ليس من عبد يبيت طاهرا إلا بات في شعاره ملك لا ينقلب ساعة من الليل إلا قال اللهم اغفر لعبدك فإنه بات طاهرا. In a hadith, the Nabi ﷺ says, cleanse your bodies, in other words, be clean, and Allah Ta'ala will cleanse you, because when you go sleep and you are clean, then the malaika joins you, and the malaika constantly makes dua for you, and they say, Allah maghfir li abdik, oh Allah, forgive your slave, for he had gone or she had gone to bed clean. Had gone to bed clean. That is from Quran and Sunnah, and as far as the ijma of the ulama is concerned, majority of ulama says exactly that. Al-Imam Malik says, there is three conditions here in terms of this. The one is, or the one riwayah of Al-Imam Malik, he has three riwayat about that, about this. He says, in terms of the cleansing, you want to make salah, then your body, your place must be absolutely clean. There shouldn't be a doubt on whether it is clean or not clean. That's number one. Number two, he says that the condition must be that you know that it is dirty, that there is najasa. And you know that you are capable of taking it off. That must also be there. For whoever now makes salah or do any kind of ibadah, knowing that this is dirty, this is najasa on my clothes, and I am able to clean it, then the salah is batil. And never mind how many salahs you make, until either put on other clothes or clean the place or clean the body, the salah is not valid and you have to repeat that salah. But if a person had made salah not knowing that there is najasa on his clothes or body, or is not capable of removing it if it's very little, says the ulama, as long as you didn't know, then your salah would still be correct. What is the proof in terms of that? The hadith of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha قالت كنت مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فلما أصبح أخذ الكساء فلبسه ثم خرج فصلى الغداة. She says, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was by me, and when it was time for Salatul Subh or Salatul Fajr, the Nabi alayhi salam took his cloak, put it on, and then he left for Salah. Right? ثم جلس فقال رجل, and then after the Salah sat down, and then a man said, Ya Rasulullah, هذه لمعة من دم. Here's a patch of blood here on your dangas, on your cloak. So the Nabi got a hold of it and rubbed it and then sent it to Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha, And she asked for a bucket and she washed it out and then dried it out and gave it back to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. In this case, says the ulama, that while the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had come to realize afterwards that there was najasa on the clothing, never repeated the salah, because it was unknowing. The Nabi alayhi salam never repeated the salah. The third opinion from Imam Malik says that the removal of this najasa is a sunnah mu'akkadah, but the ahadith that shows it shows more that it is a wajib. It is a wajib. So then, when we now speak, we've now got the hukum of each one. The hukum of the clothing, the hukum of the place of salah, and then the hukum on our bodies. How do we clean it? How do we clean it? And this is the beauty part of Islam, that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam went in detail. The Sahaba made sure that they record the stuff for you and me to learn it and know it 1,400 years later. So, now we look at a bit of detail in terms of that. If the clothing has najasa on it, there's a patch and you can see that it's either blood or it is popos and so on, then it can be rubbed off if it had dried out. And let me come back to that ground. I remembered something now. So therefore, if you come, okay, we're going to get to that on the other page. So we're back to the clothing again. You rub it off and then you wash it. In other words, you get rid of the najasa that was on it. So it is off. The hadith of Asma bint Abi Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, قالت جاءت امرأة للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وقالت إحدانا يصيب ثوبها من دم الحيض فكيف تصنع. She said, Ya Rasulullah, there has blood from my haid has come on one of the ladies. She asked, so what do we do now in terms of that? فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم تحته ثم تكرسه ثم تصلي فيه. If there has been blood, and now obviously she's finished with the haid, there's been blood, says the Nabi Sallallahu, take it, wipe it off, and then wash it with water and make salah in it. You know, we have it easy. I hope you realize that. In the time of the other Anbiya, and I think it was Nabi Musa, if there was najasa on the clothing, then they had to cut that piece out. The easiness that we have, can you imagine how much clothing we would have been replacing? The easiness that we have as the Ummah of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, if we have a method of cleansing it. So that is one where the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says on cleaning the clothing. In another hadith, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أمر الحائض أن تبالغ في تطهير دم الحيض بخصوصه فتحقه بحجر والنحو تصل بالماء والسدر. In another occasion, the Nabi عليه الصلاة والسلام also tells a lady where there was blood of haid on her clothing, said to her, use a bit of exertion to cleanse it off. Use the stones or the rocks to get it off your clothing, then you wash it, and you wash it with water with camphor, so that the smell of the blood would be taken away. What happens when we have najasa on, but there's no patch? You can't see it, because it became dry, like urine. The urine you can't see anything about it. So the ulama says that the clothing must still be dumped in the water, rubbed out 3 times until you feel, well, okay, it's rubbed out. It's cleansed. All right? It's cleansed. The same happens if a person if you are anywhere and you find that you have a strong urge to urinate, but you didn't make it to the toilet. So now you have a drop of urine that is on the trunkie. So you get into the dangas and in the toilets, wherever you are, and you take that PC and you just wash it off. Khalas, now it's clean, you can go make salah. Right? You don't need to replace it. So therefore, when we then have finished that, right? You can't see anything of it, but you see the color is still there. And almost like there's still a smell there. The ulama says that if you have washed it out and cleaned it out, then it does not affect your salah. It does not affect your salah. But, now I don't think that our people will do that, because also it's baie finicky. If you can taste it, then you know that najas are still there. And they explain, so you taste it with the side of your tongue, but don't swallow it. Now, you tell me who's going to do that. There are no ways. I can tell you of some guys that went to go do camping, and the sons they took with them. And when the son of his dirtied his underpants, and he took the underpants and to gooier it weg. So I'm not going to clean this, throw it away. So the same in terms of this year, our people will probably just clean it, inshallah. Right. When we speak about children, babies, if a boy baby or a girl baby has urinated when they sat on your lap, or they have a nappy on, and it came through the nappy, and here you see, hey, my leg is wet. Then what happens in that? Says the ulama, if it's a boy baby, and the urine is on your clothing, and the child does not eat yet, does not eat solids yet, still on the mother's breast, then you can simply take water and throw over it and just wipe it off. Sprinkle water over it, and that will be enough. Now that is hadith of Qais bint Muhsan, أنها أتت بابن لها صغير لم يأكل الطعام إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأجلسه على حجره فبال على ثوبه فدعا بماء فنضحه ولم يغسله. That this lady, Qais, that she came to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, the Nabi alayhi took the baby and put the baby on his lap, and this was a baby that is not yet eaten solids. And then the baby had wet the lap of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and the Nabi alayhi salam just asked for water, sprinkled the water on it, but did not wash it out. That is a boy baby that is not eating it. If it's a girl baby, then it must be washed off. Then it must be washed off. Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhum wa karramallahu wajha, he says, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam qala, that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had said, bawl al-ghulam al-radi' yundahu wa bawl al-jariyah yughsalu. That if a boy baby has urinated on you, then you just sprinkle water on it. But if a girl baby has urinated on you, then you need to wash it out. You need to wash it out. وعن أبي سمح خادم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يغسل من بول الجارية ويرش من بول الغلام. So this is the hadith that deals with it. When the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that you wash off the urine of a girl baby, so that clothing is washed, and you simply sprinkle water on when it is a boy baby. Right? When it's a boy baby. Then when we speak about the place where it is dirty, like that hadith that we dealt with, we have seen that if you see the amount of dirt or urine or whatever is laying there, let's say from the dogs, dog pee there somewhere, then you throw more water than what it would have been, the urine of the dog, right? Now, the ulama says it doesn't make a difference on whether that ground is solid, firm, or whether it is loose, right? But, and that's the opinion of the Malikiyya, the Shafi'iyya, and the Hanabila. But majority of ulama says, let me first give the Hanafi opinion. The Ahnaf says, like the water is cleansed with water, like the urine is cleansed with water and a lot of water, the same rule applies if you leave it to dry by itself. If the ground that you're going to make salah on has dried after somebody urinated there or a dog urinated there, the Hanafi madhab says that when that earth becomes dry, then it has cleansed itself from that najasa. And anything that has been there, or wherever it's a tree or whatever, then it is clean. The rest of ulama says no. Now the Hanafiya says that because of a saying of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha, when she said Zakatul Ard Yabasaha, that cleansing of the earth is when it becomes dry. But the ulama is in agreement that where you find yourself in a situation where there is water, then first clean it with water, instead of coming and waiting it for dry. The hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu says, كانت الكلاب تبول وتقبل وتدبر في المسجد في زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فلم يكونوا يرشون شيئا من ذلك. The reason why they say that, they say this hadith, in the time of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, the dogs used to come in and out of the masjid, and it was never cleansed there, so which means that it probably dry, and so on. The others responded and says, no, it's not the fact that it dried. The coming in and out of the dogs in the time of the Nabi alayhi salam in the masjid was not that they had relieved themselves there, but they had relieved themselves outside, and it never happened, because if it had been that they had relieved themselves inside the masjid, then why would the Nabi say throw water over the Bedouin who urinated in the masjid and wouldn't do it there? So therefore, the drying of it, they say no, can't be drying only, because there has to be water also if you have the availability of water. Next week, we continue with the animals on whether we can benefit or not from their skin, and what the ulama says in terms of that. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Questions?